Welcome to Life Astrologer with me, Anna Isabel, and with my guest today, who is Jessie Sternberg, and the author of Enlightened Dog Training. Now, you are the very first person linked with animals to be on Life Astrologer. So welcome.
Thank you. It feels great being here.
So now I was just interviewing you for Pet Talk, and we got chatting about your interest in spirituality and spiritual matters. And that made me think, hey, I think you'd like to be on Life Astrologer. So here you are. And now the very first thing that jumps out at me in the chart is that you are the sign that I most expected you to be. You are indeed a Pisces with the sun very close to Mars. And so anyone watching this on a regular basis will be now very familiar with the concept of Pisces as being very into anything mystical. So this is a path of self-discovery, returning home as you discover that. Tell us a little bit about how you perceive it, Jessie.
What you just said to me about
this journey towards mysticism, etc.
Oh, bang on. It's bang on. I mean, up until I was 25, I was staunchly ignoring anything spiritual and mystical. I just wouldn't even let myself open up to it. I would even almost find that style of a person comical until I had a bit of an awakening experience, and then was like, I didn't even think about that anymore. It was just like a vacuum pulling me towards it.
Yeah, it is you discovering exactly what you were set out to discover in your life. So coming back now, the sun represents the person that we evolve into, the potential person that we are growing into.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Whereas the moon represents where we're coming from. And interestingly, the moon in your chart is in the opposite sign of Virgo. Very practical, very organized, very routine. It's all about the tangibles, ticking the boxes. And you said to me that you had a degree in economics.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Not only that, but that's describing me right to, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. In high school, mathematics was all I cared about. Anything creative, even like reading and writing, which is basically what I've become, a writer. I didn't want to go near that stuff because math was just so common sense and logical to me. It was the path of least resistance for me.
Yeah, and so this is a big deal because Pisces is, you just couldn't get more different. There is, you'll be happy to know, one thing that you've retained, which is really rather important, and that is that Virgo is also linked with small animals. Mm. And of course, that's how I've come to find you, is through your interest in dogs and communication, dog communication, and helping to look after dogs as well, because I don't know whether you still do, but a doggy day, a rather full doggy daycare from what I understood reading the book.
Yeah. When I was 26 or 27 years old, I started a dog daycare in Toronto, and I ran it. It turned into a grooming salon and a dog training center and a retail center. It just kept kind of like shape shifting. So I ended up looking after thousands of dogs over the last decade, thousands.
Well, I'm smiling it's almost like 101 ways in which you can manifest your chart as I listen to you, because the houses are the, let's say, the stages on which we find the expression of different aspects of our personality. And the sixth house in particular is linked with small animals once again, and is the natural correspondence to Virgo. And when I look at your sixth house, although there's nothing sitting in there, the ruler of the sixth house is actually Mars, which is sitting very close to the sun in Pisces. So you might think, okay, well, what does that mean? Because Mars has no link with small animals, except for the fact that in your chart, it gets pulled into this through the filter of Pisces, which, as we've already been discovering, is linked with all things mystical. So here is then the second link. So you've got the sun and the moon in opposite signs, an interest in mysticism, and an interest in small animals by virtue of the position of the sun and the moon. And then you've got Mars, also in Pisces, very close to the sun, casting a light on the area of small animals. So you're bringing your mystical understanding and knowledge to
What just happened to me when you said that? That's crazy. I actually can't turn the smile off, and it's all coming right out of my chest right now.
It's wonderful, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful that there would be this connection that you would have. And we spent, and I will make sure that there is a link in the description box to the Pet Talk podcast we've just done, because you will, if you tune into that, you will hear us talk about emotion. And that's pretty much all we've talked about, isn't it?
Yeah.
How important emotion is in understanding our emotions, our dog's emotions, if we're going to actually effectively connect and communicate with them. And here is your chart. That is the lesson of your chart. It's one of the things that you are meant to be understanding, is exactly that. Whether you're teaching dogs that, whether they're teaching you, we can ask, which came first, the chicken or the egg? But I think, in fact, they inform each other.
Right now, as nature, I'm expressing my nature.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, that feels cool.
So there is something else here, which I think is one. Your midheaven, which is, let's say, the vocation, or some people would call the career line of the chart, is in the sign of Cancer, which is all about emotions and nurturing. Again, couldn't be further from economics. It's just, it is all about nurturing and all about emotion. And the moon is the ruler of Cancer. So it's the moon over your midheaven once again. And we come back to Virgo being the sign that the moon is in. And that's linked with small animals. So here we are again, showing that there's something here about working with animals that's going to be very important to you. So then, sitting in that 10th house, we have the North Node, the North Node being the sign of Leo. So the North.
Mind if I just jump in for a second?
Yeah, do.
Even more important to me than writing about the dogs and looking after the dogs was this nurturing instinct to resonate with a lot of humans who happened to be dog owners, to nurture them into like feeling like it's okay to be anxious, it's okay to be scared, it's okay to be these things. Here's how we get back. Here's how you can get yourself back into here's how you can get yourself back into the state of being that, by the way, this is what it feels like, this state of being that I want to describe. And that was in my heavenly whatever, blah, 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 blah. Can you just
Yes, it is.
what that whole piece means? I was with you up until then, but I saw my face go boom.
Yeah, midheaven is the career line. It's our vocation. It's our calling. So for the fact that it's in Cancer, it's very much about nurturing, and it's about feelings. And I'm coming back to the human side of things very shortly. So, and how it linked in with the moon is because the moon rules Cancer. So it's automatically got influence. That's a good word for this. It's got influence over this career line, and it's in Virgo, which, as I've explained, is linked with small animals. So this is how the links are built up in layers. And so I'm just about to give you another layer, because in that area to do with career is something called the North Node. And the North Node, these are mathematical points. So they're hypothetical points. They're not actual physical bodies in the heavens. But they are where the moon crosses the path of the sun as it's orbiting the sun. And so those are sensitive points. And from a symbolic perspective, they show the direction. The North Node shows the direction we are meant to be moving in, the things we're meant to be developing. And so for you, it's about being an individual and finding your creativity. So it's Leo is the king, he needs to shine. It's the sun needing to shine. So your career is the area where you find, through which you find your individuality.
Isn't Leo a lion?
That's right. Yes. And there he is, right behind you.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Lion has showed up in my dreams for a while now.
A long time. Yeah. So you need to, I would say, work with your dream imagery, because, and understand the symbolism behind the lion. It's about presence. And, you know, you talk about communicating confidence, you know, to be a good leader with your dog. It's communicating peaceful confidence.
The initial title of my book, which I totally let the publisher change, wasn't Enlightened Dog Training. It was The Peaceful Alpha.
Yes.
That was the title. And the publisher was like, well, maybe that won't sell very much, so we'll change it to this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, spread more light. No problem.
And that's it, you know, spread more light. That's what the sun does. The sun shines, it spreads light. So you, in order for you to be able to do that, you need to find your sense of creativity, your sense of individuality, and then you'll be able to do that. And it will be through your vocation, through your work, that you find that. And you talked about how you started to, you know, you had nothing to do with creativity, and then you found it, and it's evolving, and it will continue to evolve. But the human contingent is also very important here, because the South Node also denotes where we are coming from. And what can be quite instinctive to you is groups of people, belonging to the group. You have to break away from that.
Yeah.
To go on your hero's journey,
Yeah.
be individual, and then here's the thing, you get to bring something back.
So that might be when, that might be for a whole other conversation. But, you know, I did drink a lot of ayahuasca in Peru and come home and change my life around and buy a van off a surfer and move to the West Coast and live there for a while and watch as all the relationships in my life started to transform and evolve. And you know, it's quite a discipline to stay even keeled and, you know, not want to not allow myself to slip back into something that would have brought me comfort in the past, but not serve my purpose now.
Yeah, well, I think you're certainly on a very important path for your soul. I think
Hmm.
there's nothing that says, actually, this is the wrong path. Everything says you
Yeah.
were meant to do this. And
Yeah.
lots, lots of it is the important thing here, because the more you understand about your spirituality and the more you find your creativity, the more you have something to give. And just one last thing, coming back to the moon in Virgo, it's about service.
Mhm.
It's about bringing something back that's of service to others. And of course, that's exactly what you've been doing with your business. It's evolved from one service to another service to another service. And what you're doing is learning and sharing, which is what we're all meant to do.
Oh, my heart notes are just singing. I love how you broke that down for me, because it was like, who doesn't question the moves that they're making when they're on the path as they're moving forward? Because you're only trusting yourself, right, as you move into it. But to have a master like you look at that and break that down, it's just like I can take the afternoon off.
Well, I'm sure that your dog will enjoy you having the afternoon with him. He's in for a delightful time today.
Oh, this was so much fun, Anna.
Oh, Jesse, thank you so much for being on Life Astrologer today.
Sure, that was a blast.
And if people would like to learn more about your work, where do they find you?
Yeah, my website, www.peacefulalpha.com. It's got information on my book, my social media connection points, and you can email me right from there, from the site as well.
And I'll be sure to put a link to Pet Talk on there as well. And do remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to do that, because I always read them and always reply. Until next time, goodbye.